talk show. This is what we're doing from now on. We're broadcasting live to millions of people around the globe. Oprah's tuning in. Oprah, good to see you. Thanks for being here. So each week at the Heartland Show in this series, we're going to have a theme for everything that's about to happen, everything you're about to see here on the stage. U2 is here. They're going to come out later unless they cancel last minute. We'll see. But I have 3 clues in order to try to help you all guess what today's theme is. Sharon, yeah. You already know, so you can't say. So I'm going to give you 3 clues as to what the theme is. We'll see if you all can guess it, okay? So here's clue number 1. This is something that Bears fans did. Okay, yeah, no, we can't. No, there's no booing in church. Come on. This is something Bears fans did about a week and a half ago on April 24th when this happened. We're going to take a moment. I've had that haircut before. It's hard to tell. You can't tell. It's hard to tell the difference. Yeah. Yep. Okay, all right. So
I know what I was doing.
Aaron Rodgers went to the Jets, as we all know. And this is something Bears fans did when he did that, because you might be wondering, like, wait, why would you play that song, Time of Your Life? Does anybody know the real title of that song? Anybody? Bueller? Good Riddance. That's right. Good Riddance. Okay. All right. Okay. Here's clue number 2. This is our theme this week in different languages. So if you speak any number of bizarre languages that I'm about to show you, you will know our theme for today. So our theme in Bosnian and Croatian is stranka. Okay. In Finnish, Sharon, do you speak Finnish? God bless you. Okay. In Finnish, it's jula. In Greek, it's koma. In Latvian, love all those Latvian speakers. We got a huge Latvian following here at Heartland. It's baliti. In Serbian, they just invented a double X. Look at that. They're just like, let's add an X to an X. It's zurka. And in Lithuanian, it's salis. Anybody? Nope, that's different. That's a different, we're not doing that. Okay, all right. All right, and here's your third and final clue. It is a poem that I wrote. Can we cut the music? This is a tender moment. We're going to read this poem right now. So it's a poem I wrote about our theme. See if you can catch on. It happens when you turn 1 and when you turn 101. They're almost always described as fun. For New Year's remembrances and old days, for new landmarks, random highlights, or a new phase. In January, July, December, and May, it can be morning, new day, night, or day. Gosh darn, I messed up my own rhyme. Gifts and presents, food and drinks, hugs and high fives, games and hijinks, balloons and streamers, ice cream and cake. Unless you're an introvert, you really try hard to make it. I'm a first-time poet, okay?
You're a natural.
Thank you. At home or out, some quiet, some loud, some with 2 people, some with a crowd, kids and adults and everyone in between. Some require fun costumes, some even a limousine. Some have finger food, some have food more hearty. Of course, we all know we're talking about a party! That's right! Woo-hoo-hoo! Our theme today is party. And we would love all your help later vacuuming this up. That'd be awesome. Thank you so much for being willing to do that. That's right, today our theme is party. Everything we do is going to have to do with party, as you'll see throughout the Heartland Show. But first, Sharon, before we move on, of course, we have to thank one of our lovely sponsors of today's episode to our live studio audience. So please check out the side screens as we thank our sponsor for today.
Here we go.
Do you ever feel disconnected? Do you ever feel like you want to get involved but just aren't sure how? Do you ever feel like you want to know more about a local church that seems pretty cool but you have more things you'd like to know? Introducing Connect Card. Connect Card is a one-time card that you can fill out at your local Heartland Connection Point table to learn more about the church, hear from someone on the team, get your questions answered, and find out how you can get involved. It's recommended by 13 out of 14 staff members, and we forgot to ask the 14th. Side effects may include connection, friendships, a sense of belonging, opportunities to volunteer, answered questions, connection, and nausea. Connect Card is not for everyone. Oh wait, yes, actually it is. Don't take Connect Card if you are allergic to Connect Card. Talk to your pastor to see if Connect Card is right for you, or just head to the Connection Point table in the lobby after the service. Stop feeling disconnected and connect with Connect Card.
Nice.
All right, yeah, there you go.
Love that Connect Card.
Thank you to Connect Card, our lovely sponsor. Side effects are rough, but you know.
Yeah, but it's worth it.
Yeah.
Every nausea.
Nausea? You get nausea when you.
But it's worth it.
I know. It's every medication feels like they have to put nausea in there just in case you're driving and you're like, am I nauseous? Was this the medication? They're like, we put it in there. You can't sue us. Anyway. All right, so our party episode. So one of the greatest parties, I would say, probably in the universe. I've not been everywhere in the universe, but I'd have to imagine this is up there. It's called Night to Remember. It's something that we here at Heartland are so honored and privileged to help lead and produce every single year. It is a grand party down at Monona Terrace for anybody with special needs or disabilities that come. Oftentimes they don't get, folks in that community don't get to experience a party like we might, take for granted. And so we throw them just a crazy awesome party. There's food and dancing and everything in between. And Heartland gets to be a part of it. So we're going to talk to a couple folks that are a part of Night to Remember coming up in just a few short weeks. But before we get to them, take a look at the highlight video from last year's Night to Remember. Sharon, hit it.
Got it.
All right, Night to Remember 2022. Well, would you all please help me welcome Melissa Shotwell and Belle Peterson to the stage. They are special guests today. So, Melissa, you are the director of Night to Remember. We saw you cue us back to the party, which was probably the highlight of the night. You were like, let's get back to the party. Yeah. So can you just tell us a little bit more about Night to Remember, the impact that it's had on I was going to say Sun Prairie. It's a lot more than Sun Prairie. The impact it's had all over the Sun Prairie area.
Sure, I'd love to. So, Night to Remember is a holiday experience that we've been hosting for many, many years. I think we're on year 12 now. And we do it at the Monona Terrace. We are expecting 300 honored guests this year. Those are individuals with disabilities and special needs within our community. And like Dugan said, it is broader than just Sun Prairie. It's all of Dane County and even beyond. We have people who travel to the event because they just love it so much. So they keep coming back year after year from all over. I'd say it's epic. We try to go all out for our guests. You saw how everyone reacts to the red carpet and just the experience of being called by name. Dugan is usually the one that announces them by name, and then the guest gets to walk the red carpet, and we have a crowd of cheering people. We call it our paparazzi. That gets to just really make that guest feel so special. Every guest has a host for the night, and we just make sure that they truly have a night to remember dancing, food. The parents have a respite space where they get massages and a little bit laid back experience. We're just really honored to be able to do it year over year and to celebrate. That's why we do it. We believe everyone deserves to be celebrated, and for our honored guests like Belle.
Yes, so Belle, you have gone to Night to Remember a bunch of times, whole bunch of times. And I love your dress. I love that you dressed up. Melissa, take note. Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So Belle, you've been a part of it a bunch of times. So can you tell me your favorite part about Night to Remember?
I like to dance with my friends, talking with my friends, eating, and going down the red carpet because it makes me feel famous and model.
That's awesome. I love it. The red carpet is very fun. We have a good time at the red carpet. They were like, we need somebody to be obnoxious and yell out names. And I was like, hi, how are you? Nice to meet you. Yeah. Also, where is the massage area? Let me just go down real quick. Melissa, I know this, of course. I'm very privileged to have been a part of volunteering for it every single year and love it. But I also know that it takes a literal army of people and a lot of financial resources as well to put on, because it's 100% free for every single guest and their families that show up. We want to, as you said, be able to provide that for them and celebrate them at no cost. So talk a little bit more about the amount of volunteers needed, what's needed to be done, how people can donate financially to help make that happen.
Yes, so it does take a lot of people to pull this off, and a lot of people willing to either give of their time or of their money. It costs about $85 per person for us to do this, and like I said, we have 300 guests coming, so you can do the math, or I can just tell you it's about $25,000 that we need to raise this year.
Thank you. I was homeschooled, so I'm like, okay. I'm just kidding. My homeschooling experience was great. It's fantastic. Hey, Mom.
So $25,000 to put the event on. There's a number of ways that you can support us financially. First, we do have a table out in the lobby today, so if you have some cash with you or you want to write us a check, we'd appreciate that. You can donate online at our website, which is NTR for Night to Remember, ntrheartland.com, or you can get to us through Heartland's website. We also, if you own your own company or you work for a company that you think may be interested in sponsoring our event, we have corporate sponsors. And then we also do fundraisers throughout the month. So today, actually, we are going to Panera is hosting a fundraiser for us. So if you don't have dinner plans between 4 to 8 p.m. tonight on the east side Panera, you can head there, and they are donating 20% of your bill to us to support our event. Very important, you do have to mention Night to Remember in order for those proceeds to come to us, but we truly appreciate it. In terms of volunteers then, it takes about double the number of guests in volunteers. So we need around 600 people to pull this off. As I mentioned, every guest has a host. It's one of our most important roles. You get to stay with your honored guests the entire night and make sure they have a VIP experience. It's one of the most memorable and important roles, so I encourage everyone to consider that. But we have lots of other ways that you can be involved. We truly just need people. It's a one-night commitment. You show up. It's super fun. We always have really great feedback from our volunteers, and you get to help us throw an epic party for our honored guests.
And I mean, every single year, every single person I've talked to, especially those who do the hosting role and get to hang out with people like Belle, every single time they've said, that was so much fun for me. So it's not just a matter of show up and you'll every single person is going to have a fantastic, wonderful time. So, okay, Belle, back to you. Last question. So, Melissa and I are kind of important. People listen to us. I think they're probably going to listen to you a little bit more because of the dress and stuff. And, because you're just more persuasive, more interesting, more intelligent. So, why should somebody volunteer and hang out at Night to Remember and or maybe donate to help support Night to Remember?
Donating helps make sure we can have Night to Remember for a long time. Volunteering will make you feel good while you help support everyone's abilities while they can have fun.
Love it. Love it. Will you all help me thank Melissa and Val? Thank you guys so much. Thank you. Good job. Good job. Good job. All right. Well, now it's time for everybody's favorite segment, even though this is our first episode, everybody's favorite segment of the Heartland Show, which is, now Sharon, you've had a lot of experiences in over the years.
Yes, yes.
That was a nice way to say you're old,
Yeah,
right?
that
Okay,
I'm
all right.
older, yeah,
All right.
thank you.
So you've had a lot of experiences, but there are many things you've not
Right.
experienced.
Right.
And so we thought it would be fun to find some of those things that Sharon has not experienced and produce a little segment called Sharon Tries, in which we just send you out to try stuff. And
I know.
so,
I'll do anything for the show.
oh, yeah, that's good to know. Take note, producers. Let's write that down. Okay. So what is it that you tried this past week?
Well, in keeping with the theme of party,
Yeah.
you sent me to take ballroom dance classes. And
Which you've never done before.
No, I don't dance in public. You know, I'm just a little awkward. So this was a new experience. As you'll see, I was a bit nervous, but yeah, that's what I did.
All right.
Behalf
Let's
of-
check out this week's installment of Sharon Tries.
Oh, please enjoy it. Okay, well, here we are at the Fred Astaire Dance Studio. I'm about to go in. I've never taken a dance lesson, and I think I'm going to learn ballroom dancing, maybe? I don't know. Please be kind to me as you watch this, because I'm going to give it a try, and we'll see what happens. Hopefully, I have rhythm. Let's go. We got to do this. Come on. I got to get this over with. Oh, my gosh. Here we go. Hi, everybody. I want you to meet Yerrick. He's one of the top instructors in Wisconsin, and he's going to be teaching me today. So watch him work a miracle in these next few moments. Here we go.
One step back on your right.
Oh,
There you go. One step side.
Okay.
And then with this leg, go forward. Yes? So we drew a box in our fingers.
Yep.
Side together, forward. Nice. Now, like I was saying, we're going to do that talk and dance test. First dance down. Now, we're going to go on to dance number 2. 1, 2, 3, 4. Perfect. Again. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then. So we're gonna go rock, step, 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 rock, step, step. Yes, rock. Yeah, there you go.
oh my gosh.
Ta-da.
Oh my goodness.
Very good. Very
Well,
good.
you know, I actually learned 4 dances. I learned the rumba, the foxtrot, the waltz, and something that goes forward and backwards. So all in a half hour. So here's the thing. You've heard of the show, so you think you can dance? Well,
Yeah.
let me tell you. I know I can dance.
Okay. All right. So you're now teaching lessons at the Fred Astaire.
Well, we might start one at the Heartland Church. I might start-
Okay. Great. Brand new ministry coming to Heartland. Oh, that's great. And what can you give us a tease, a hint about what you're going to try next
Oh
week?
my gosh. This week I'm going to go do goat yoga.
Goat yoga.
I don't know how those two fit together, but that's what I'm
They do. Apparently, goats inspired yoga.
Yeah.
That's
yeah,
false. That's not
okay.
true. Yeah. All right. Well, as with every daytime talk show, of course, we want to keep in line with all the ones that were pantomiming today, and so there's going to be a sermon now. So, I mean, that happens on Kelly Clarkson's show all the time. Just sermons. No, I'm just kidding. But we do have a sermon now from John McNary, our lead pastor, but he is also going to keep in the theme of party. We are not straying. That is, as I said, our theme for today. So John is going to come teach us something from God's Word, all about party. So when he comes out, would you please give him a warm Heartland Show welcome. And thank you again so much, those of you joining us in person and online, for our very first episode of the Heartland Show. Well, good morning. It's good to see you as we continue our service today. As Dugan said, we are having some fun with this new series, The Heartland Show. And we're going to change things up a little bit. We're still going to worship, but we'll do that at the end of our service each week. And we're going to have some fun with the announcements. And each week we're going to have a theme. And as he said, this week's theme is party, because who doesn't love a good party? I think we all love a good party. And that's why we have so many parties in our culture. If you think about all the different types of parties that we celebrate, there really is a very long list. Some of just the biggest parties I was thinking of include birthday parties, right? We celebrate another trip around the sun. Those are a big deal. Anniversary parties are a big deal. Retirement parties, when somebody reaches their chance to retire and call it quits. Graduation parties, which are coming up for a bunch of you. Congratulations on those who are graduating. Of course, Christmas parties are so fun. I love those. And then we have a bunch of parties that we don't call parties, but that's really what they are. Things like baby showers, somebody's about to have a kid, and so we throw them a party, right? But the granddaddy of them all, no doubt the biggest parties in our culture are these parties, wedding receptions. Wedding receptions are, bar none, the biggest parties that we celebrate in our culture. Just think of all the planning and time and prep that goes into it. Think of the money. Think of all of the people that we hire for these parties, right? You hire a venue, you hire a caterer, you hire a DJ, you probably hire a photographer, some hire a videographer, you hire a pastor, some people hire a person to manage all the other people that you hire, called a wedding planner, right? As I was thinking about this week, I thought, I wonder what it costs to do a wedding today in 2023, because I got married about 2 decades ago, and I just know inflation's real, so it's probably a little bit more expensive than it was for Ashley and me back in the day. So I Googled it, and I was shocked at what I found. Apparently, the average amount of money spent on a wedding in America today is over $30,000. Can you believe that? Actually, I found a list that broke it down by state. There are different regions of the country that spend even more on their weddings, and the state with the highest average cost for a wedding party is the state of New Jersey, where the average wedding party costs over $51,000. Apparently, the Jersey Shore crew really wants to honor matrimony, and so they celebrate it in a big way. I don't know. But even if you don't spend $30,000 on your wedding, which clearly you can have a phenomenal wedding party without spending $30,000. And so I think my daughter's watching right now. So Braylon, I know you're only 12, but remind me later to tell you about my idea for your wedding someday. Just remind me it's a potluck, okay? So everybody's going to bring a dish to pass. But even if you don't spend a lot of money, you probably still spend more time planning this party than any other party that you throw. If you had asked me, or if you asked me, how much time is the average engagement? How long does that last? You go back about 20 years ago when I started doing ministry and people started asking me to officiate their ceremonies, I would guess that back then the average engagement was about 6 months long. It was usually about 6 months from when they said, hey, will you officiate our ceremony? It's coming up in about 6 months. That would have been the average. Today, I would say that number is well over a year that people ask me to officiate their ceremony, and it's not uncommon for me to get asked to officiate ceremonies that are 18 months in the future. That's become pretty normal. Recently, I got an email from somebody in the church who wanted to know if I would officiate their ceremony, and when I first saw the email, I thought this must be a typo, and so I wrote back and I was like, hey, just want to make sure you got the year wrong and this is the year that you meant. And they wrote back and they said, no, that's accurate. And when I looked at it, I did the math and I realized they're asking me to officiate a wedding ceremony over 2.5 years in the future. And I was like, have they even met somebody yet? Because that's enough time to meet someone, fall in love, get engaged, and still plan the ceremony, right? It's like, how much time do you need? Like one meeting and I'll line it up for you, right? But anyway, weddings are great and they're a big deal in our culture. And I get it. I get why. Weddings are special, right? Like personally, I love weddings. I really do. I think there's something beautiful about them. I think there's something beautiful about the love that's on display. I think there's something really cool about seeing two people pledge to do life with one another. I think The parties are great. They go along with them. I think the food is great. The drinks are great. The music is great. The wedding cake is great. I love wedding cake, right? I don't know what it is about wedding cake, but I love wedding cake. And so for me, like one of my favorite memories was my own wedding. And so I thought I'd show you just a couple pictures of our wedding. The one thing that Ashley let me do was design the wedding cake. And so I said I wanted to look like a bunch of presents because this is a party. And so that was our wedding cake. Our friends, we had a bunch of friends from the church that formed a band, and they played a bunch of oldies. And so, like, the dance floor was packed all night, and it was a dry wedding. So it's not like they were dancing because everybody was drunk. It was just a really good time. Ashley and her bridesmaids choreographed this dance, and at the end of it, like, you know, she grabbed me and we danced, and it was just this like really cool time. I think weddings are really special. And so, of course, weddings being a big deal is not anything new. In fact, if you go back 2,000 years ago, travel to the other side of the planet, to first century Israel, you would find that weddings were absolutely as big of a deal back then as they are today, if not even more so. In first century Israel, Jewish people's wedding parties would last an entire week. 7 days of feasting, 7 days of wine, 7 days of music and dancing and celebration. For them, this was like the biggest events in their culture. You would invite everybody that you could. Sometimes entire villages would be invited to a wedding party, and nobody missed a wedding party. You didn't have other things that were bigger than that wedding. And so you made all the arrangements necessary to make sure that you would be there for this wedding party. And so it's no surprise to me that Jesus chose a wedding party as the time and place to perform his first public miracle. And since this week's theme is the party episode, I thought, well, let's dig into this party and see what God might want to say to us through it. Now, before we get into the passage, I do want to just simply acknowledge that anytime we talk about marriage or weddings with a room with this many people in it and this many people watching online, I recognize that this is not a subject that brings a lot of joy for some people. I recognize that this can be a subject that brings a lot of pain. And so before we go any further, I simply want to say I understand that. I acknowledge that. I want you to know that we're here if anybody wants to talk about what's going on in your life in that arena. And also just know that this passage is not going to say anything about having a great marriage or how to like do marriage really well or anything like that. That's not the point of the passage at all. And so with that said, I want to dig into it. It's recorded for us by the disciple John. So if you brought a Bible, we're going to be in John chapter 2. So this is very early in Jesus' ministry. Very early in Jesus' ministry. We're going to pick up the passage in John chapter 2, verse 1, which is where we read this. On the third day, a wedding took place at Cana in Galilee. Jesus' mother was there, and Jesus and his disciples had also been invited to the wedding. Now, just before this, in John chapter 1, we're introduced to Jesus. We're introduced to John the Baptist, the forerunner for Jesus. We're introduced to Jesus himself, and Jesus calls his disciples. Now, already, this early in Jesus' public ministry, the disciples get to go to a wedding feast for like a week-long party. It's a pretty good thing to be a disciple of Jesus at this point. They're thinking, we signed up for the right thing, man. This is going to like... Doing this Jesus thing is going to be life on the easy street. I guess we're just going to go to parties all the time, right? They would learn later what it would include. But so far, so good. Well, Mary, Jesus' mother, we're told, was invited to the wedding. Now, we don't know exactly what role she played. We don't know if she was just simply close to the family. We don't know if she was helping with the catering. But she's going to play a critical role in this event. We read in verse 3, when the wine was gone, Jesus' mother said to him, they have no more wine. She comes to Jesus and she says, they have no more wine. Now, this is a problem. Okay, we read this today and it's very difficult for us to fully appreciate what a big deal this was in a first century Jewish wedding party. To run out of wine would have been a monumental failure. This would have been like something that people would talk about for years to come. First of all, the wine in their culture symbolized a covenant, a promise kept. And so to run out of wine at the wedding party would almost symbolize a broken covenant. It would almost look like it was a foreshadowing of what was to come. everybody there, when they acknowledged they had run out of wine, would have thought, kind of modern day, it would be like somebody standing up at one of our wedding receptions and going, hey, I just want to make an announcement. I've drawn up divorce papers for this couple, and if anybody wants to look them over ahead of time, I think we probably need to get this right. Like that would be like, are you kidding me? Nobody would do that. That does not happen, and that is how it was in the first century. It did not happen that you would run out of wine. It would have been considered deeply insulting to all of the guests who were there. It would have been humiliating for the family. It would not simply have ruined the party. It would have been a stain on the reputation of the family, potentially for generations to come. And so I think when Jesus' mother Mary comes to him and says, they have no more wine, she comes with a sense of urgency. She comes with a sense of panic. She's like, Jesus, they have no more wine. Jesus responds, verse 4, woman, why do you involve me? My time has not yet come. Mom, I've come to save the world, not weddings. Now, just a word of advice to all of the young men in the room. I've only been married for about 2 decades, and there's a lot that I still do not understand about women. But one thing that I have learned, young men, is that most women prefer to be addressed by their name, not simply woman, okay? So just know, right, you go, what'd you do this week, woman? This is not how you use their name, okay? Actually, this reminds me of the movie The Incredibles. You guys seen The Incredibles, right? There's a scene in The Incredibles when Frozone is like, he sees a crime happening out his window and he wants to help, but he's got dinner plans with his wife, and his wife's already annoyed that he keeps canceling their dinner plans. And so he goes to his closet to get his suit, and he realizes his suit is missing. It's not there. And so he yells down the hall, woman, where is my super suit? And she yells back, and why do you need to know? It's like, okay, this is kind of that, but not so much, because what we do know is that in first century Aramaic, this was not an offensive thing to say to his mother. It was more simply sort of like a term that would be formal and somewhat distant. This would be sort of like him saying ma'am. Like, ma'am, why do you involve me? Did confetti just fall down from this? Yeah. So he says, woman, why do you involve me? This next line is so great. I love this next line. Jesus says, my time hasn't come. And then we read verse 5. His mother said to the servants, do whatever he tells you. That's it. Jesus says, Mom, my time hasn't come. She looks at Jesus. She listens to Jesus. She completely ignores Jesus. She looks at the servants and she says, do whatever he tells you. She knows he's going to do something to help. And I know because I'm his mom, right? Which is true. That's fair. Like, you take just about any man, doesn't matter how old we are, and your mom asks you to do something, you're going to probably do your best to try to, meet the requirement, or meet the request, aren't you, right? I think because we know, I've put that woman through some things, For 18 years, I put that woman through some things. Most moms have a few tokens in the bank, and so most guys are like, my mom asked me, okay, well, Mary had the ultimate tokens in the bank, because she could say to Jesus, hey, Jesus, do you remember when I was pregnant with you and I had to tell everybody that I was still a virgin despite the fact that I had this massive baby growing inside of me? Mic drop. She just walked away. Do whatever he tells you. All right, so verse 6, nearby stood 6 stone water jars, the kinds used by the Jews for ceremonial washings, each holding from 20 to 30 gallons. Now, this is super important. In the middle of this conversational narrative, John pauses the dialogue. He pauses the conversation between Jesus and his mom and the servants, and he gives us this context clue. He says there were these stone jars nearby, the kind used for ceremonial washings. Now, this is a big deal because this is going to kind of get at the deeper reason that Jesus did this as his first miracle. In Jewish culture, their law required them to do ceremonial washings in order to stay ceremonially clean before God. And so these jars represented what we think of as the Old Covenant. It was the old way that God related to the Jewish people. Well, Jesus had come to fulfill the Old Covenant. He had come to fulfill this idea that the Jewish people needed to make sacrifices at the temple, and they needed to wash themselves with water in order to stay ceremonially clean before God. And so Jesus looks at these jars that represent the thing that he had come to fulfill. And he knew that no longer would they need to make sacrifices, because he would be the final sacrifice for everyone once and for all. And he knew no longer would people be required to do ceremonial washings with water, because his blood that he would shed on the cross would spiritually wash us clean. And so Jesus looks at these jars. And I think it was no accident that he decided to use them in changing what they held, both literally and figuratively. The water into wine, and the old covenant for the new. Author and theologian F.F. Bruce writes in his commentary on the book of John, the water provided for purification as laid down by Jewish law and custom stands for the whole ancient order of Jewish ceremony, which Christ was about to replace with something better. Verse 7, Jesus said to the servants, "Fill the jars with water," so they filled them to the brim. Now, this verse doesn't really give credit to the monumental task that Jesus had just given the servants and the amount of time that it would have taken them to do this. Remember, John gave us the clue that these jars held somewhere between 20 and 30 gallons. If you take the average and just say it was 25 gallons in each one of these jars, there are 6 of them. That's 150 gallons. And they don't have running water. They couldn't just put the jar under the faucet and turn on the tap and just stand there and wait. They had to go to some larger body of water and hand scoop 150 gallons of water into these jars. Think about how much these would have weighed. 1 gallon of water weighs 8.3 pounds. Multiply that by 25 pounds in the jar, 25 gallons in the jar, plus the weight of a clay jar that can hold 25 gallons. You're talking about each one of these weighing at least 150 pounds, right? And so 250 pounds. I'm sorry, 250 pounds. So this was a big ask. And yet the servants are obedient. They did exactly what Jesus asked. Verse 8, then he told them, "Now draw some out and take it to the master of the banquet." Now this is where they're going to start to get a little nervous, because they've just spent potentially hours filling these jars with water. And they come to Jesus and they say, "We're done." They're all filled with water. And Jesus says, "Now take some to the master of the banquet." And they had to be thinking, "You want us to what? Like, you want us to take some water to the master of the banquet?" Like, Jesus, this is a big ask. You're putting us in a tough spot now, Jesus, because there's a lot on the line here. If we take water to the master of the banquet, and he looks at us and he says, "What are you doing? Why are you giving me this?" But they do it what he asked. Verse 9 says, they did so. They did what Jesus asked. They did so. And the master of the banquet tasted the water that had been turned into wine. He did not realize where it had come from, though the servants who had drawn the water knew. Jesus decides, okay, I'm going to help this couple. I'm going to help this family save face. I'm going to bless them. I'm going to bless my mom. I'm going to bless all of the guests who are here so that the party will continue and that they'll get to have this incredible time of celebration. I'm going to bless everybody involved, and I'm going to do it in a way that speaks to something much more deep, something much more significant about what I've ultimately come to do. And who does Jesus decide to work through? You might think, if you were going to guess ahead of time, that he would choose the master of the banquet. The master of the banquet is the one who is seated in the place of honor. The master of the banquet is like the big deal person at the party aside from the bride and groom. So you might guess that Jesus would work through the master of the banquet. You might guess that Jesus would choose to work through his disciples. They've only been following him for a short period of time, but they've left everything to follow this new rabbi. And so you might think Jesus is going to get them in the game early on, and he would work through them. You might guess that Jesus would choose to do this miracle through Mary herself. She's the one who saw the problem. She's the one who came to Jesus looking for a solution. So you might think that Jesus asked her to be the person to perform the miracle. But who does Jesus decide to use? Jesus chose to be the conduit for his first public miracle. He chose to use the servants. I love that. I love that of all the people that Jesus could have chosen to use, he chose to use ordinary people with no pedigree or accolades, no degrees behind their name, no prestige whatsoever. He chose to use the ordinary to do the extraordinary. And this is one of the things that we see throughout the entire scriptures, old and new, that God loves to use the ordinary to do the extraordinary. And what we see and what we're reminded of in passages like this is that your opportunity to be used by God is not based on anything superficial. Your opportunity to be used by God in extraordinary ways is not based on your status in society. It's not based on what you do for a living or don't do for a living. It's not based on how other people see you. It's not even based on how you see yourself. Your opportunity to be used by God is simply based on your willingness to listen to him and to do what he says, to be obedient to his calling on your life. Because when God looks at you, all he sees is his treasured child that he loves, no matter what else is going on in your life. And his opinion of you is ultimately the only one that matters. And so Jesus chose the servants to be the conduit. Verse 10, the master of the banquet tasted the water that had been turned into wine. He did not realize where it had come from, though the servants who had drawn the water knew. Then he called the groom, the bridegroom, aside, and he said, everybody brings out the choice wine first, and then the cheaper wine after the guests have had too much to drink. But you have saved the best till now. He said, what in the world? Nobody does this. This isn't the normal order of things. Everybody knows at a wedding party that's going to last for 7 days, people are probably going to get to a point where their taste buds have faded and the wine, quality doesn't matter quite so much. So everybody knows you bring out the best first and then you save the cheaper till later. He says, but you've done the opposite. And so had God. So had God. Verse 11 brings the whole story to a close. It's John's summary of the event. We read in verse 11, what Jesus did here in Cana of Galilee was the first of the signs through which he revealed his glory, and his disciples believed in him. I would hope so. They had just witnessed an absolutely amazing miracle up close and personal. But it's an interesting comment that John says that this was the first sign through which Jesus revealed his glory. We don't talk about glory very much, but I think we all intuitively understand what glory is. Glory is honor. Glory is fame. Glory is recognition. That's what glory is. It's interesting that John would say that this is the first time Jesus revealed his glory, because the truth is Jesus only started to reveal his glory a little bit, and he only revealed it to a few people. The only people who knew what had just happened was Mary, the disciples, and the servants who filled the jars and took the wine to the master of the banquet. As far as we can tell, nobody else there had any clue the miracle that had just occurred. Not the master of the banquet, not the bride and groom, not the wedding guests. Nobody else knew. Jesus had done an unbelievable miracle in their midst that blessed them, and they had no idea. Clearly, Jesus is much more humble. Clearly, Jesus looks for the glory, looks for credit less than you and I tend to do. Isn't it true that we want kind of all the glory that we feel like we deserve? And one of the things that drives us nuts more than just about anything else is when someone else steals the glory that we think we deserve. Right? You're at work and somebody takes your idea and presents it and everybody loves it, and you think to yourself, that was my idea. He took my idea. Steal my glory. Right? You're working on a team project at school. The teacher assigns you a couple of people to work with on this project, and yet there's always that one person who doesn't do anything at all, and so you have to do extra work, and you turn it in, and you submit it on behalf of the group, and you all get the same grade. And the teacher applauds your group for the work that you've accomplished, and you think to yourself, are you kidding me? This joker didn't do anything. I'm the one who did it. Steal my glory. right? You go out on a nice date and you have a good time and you give them your number and you expect a call or a text and you wait and you wait and you wait. You think, what in the world? Steal my glory? I think they're ghosting me. This is kind of embarrassing, but I'll tell you, for me, one of them, this is true. I'm just going to be real with you for a second. For me, one of the times that I feel is steal my glory, and I'll even say that phrase to myself, it revolves around Night to Remember. So Night to Remember, this event that we host, is such a big deal around here, was originally an idea that my wife had like 15 years ago, and it originated here at Heartland. And at one point when she was working on this and kind of brainstorming, she said, what should we call it? And I was like, how about Night to Remember? Because that was the name of my high school senior prom, and that was the theme for that. So I said, call it Night to Remember, and she liked that. And so off we went with it. And Night to Remember is this amazing event. Well, at some point along the way, Tim Tebow, the football player, saw a recap video of our Night to Remember, and he literally ripped the entire thing off and called it Night to Shine. And now, because of the national celebrity status, the platform that the Tebow Foundation has, Night to Shine happens at over 12,000 churches around the world in 39 countries. Absolutely amazing. I love that. I celebrate that. But every once in a while, people will come up to me and they'll say, hey, I see you guys are doing Night to Remember. That's really cool. You're piggybacking off Tim Tebow's idea. You just changed the name. And inside of me, I want to be like, no, man, no, steal my glory. We did it first. He took it from us, right? I'll tell you, but I don't tell people, but that's what I think. I'm like, steal my glory, right? But we want the credit. But Jesus was different. Jesus is humble. Jesus didn't look for the credit. He didn't look for the applause or the accolades. His humility went so far that he was willing to do amazing miracles to bless people, and he never even tried to get them to notice. And here's my main point for today. I think that this is reflective of the way that God will work in your life too. I absolutely believe that God is actively at work in all of our lives. I think that God has been at work in your life. I believe that he is currently, and I believe that he will continue to be actively at work in your life in the future. But God doesn't shake you and point your face in the direction of what he's doing to make sure that you see it. He just goes about his work, caring for you, loving you, providing for you. And because of that, it is so easy to miss what God is doing in our lives. It's possible to go about our business and completely miss what God's doing in us and in our circumstances. It's possible to go about our lives and miss what God is doing in the lives of the people around us. And it's not just possible, I think it's probable. And what's crazy about that is that ultimately, actually, God deserves all of the glory. God's glory is on display in ways big and small all around us every moment of every day. His glory is on display in every sunrise and in every sunset. His glory is on display every time the skies open up and water falls from the heavens and it waters the fields and seeds germinate and grow into plants that feed us. Every time a child is born and the miracle of life is on display. Every time we lie down at night to rest and every morning we wake up. In every laugh and every cry, in every hug and every embrace. For every birthday and every graduation and every wedding and everything in between, God deserves to be glorified. But for right now, God is holding back the fullness of his glory from being revealed. He invites us to look for it, though, and he invites us to live in the joy of seeing his glory on display all around us. But he is holding it back for now. But someday, God's going to go, okay, I've waited long enough, and he's going to send Christ back, and Jesus is going to come back for us. And when he comes, his glory will be fully displayed, and his majesty will be fully revealed, and every eye will see, and every knee will bow, and every tongue will confess that Jesus is Lord. It's going to be a good day. And John, the disciple who recorded this for us, John's the one who said at this wedding party, that was the first time Jesus started to reveal his glory. At the end of his life, John is an old man, and God gives him a vision of the end times, of how it's all going to end. You might think of it as a revelation of how things will come to a close. And in John's revelation, in his vision, he says that he sees Jesus coming back. And he says that when he saw Jesus coming back, the whole world took notice of it, of Jesus in all of his glory. And as Jesus comes back in all of his glory, John hears all of the people of God saying this. This is Revelation 19:7. The people of God respond and say, "Let us be glad and rejoice, and let us give honor to him. For the time has come for the wedding feast of the Lamb." The time has come for the wedding feast of the Lamb, and his bride has prepared herself. Isn't it interesting that when Christ comes back, we will celebrate with a wedding feast, with a wedding reception party? Jesus began revealing his glory at a wedding reception in Cana. And Jesus will bring his glory to a fulfillment. It will be fully revealed at another wedding reception, the wedding supper of the Lamb. And in the end, God will be fully revealed in all of his glory. But we're invited to look for it today. We don't have to wait until Jesus comes back, because his glory is on display all around us. And God is working in our lives all around us. And we're invited to live differently because we know he's working in our lives all around us. And no matter what you're facing in life, whether this is a season of joy and ease or a life of pain and difficulty where you have to battle for your joy, you are invited to live with the understanding that God knows, that God cares, that God will provide, that God is actively at work even in times when you can't see exactly how he is working. And so, even if it's just for this week, I want to invite you to open your eyes to the glory of God on display all around you. And I want to invite you to live with the joy that comes from knowing his glory is all around us, but this is just a tiny fraction of it. But someday, I'm going to get to see him in all of his glory. And that will be a day when we will all celebrate the marriage supper of the Lamb. As we close our time together today, we want to finish with a couple of songs, an opportunity for us to simply stand and worship the God who reigns, the God who is seated in the position of honor. And so before the band comes, the team's going to come and receive our offering for those of you who came prepared to do that. But as they come, would you just simply bow your heads and say a word of prayer with me? Lord, it is so easy for us to live distracted by all of the daily commitments that we need to keep. And Lord, because of that, it's easy for us to put our heads down and to grind it out and to pay no attention to what you're doing or to your glory, which is on display all around us. But Lord, would you help us to open our eyes to see you? Would you help us to open our eyes to see your glory on display? And would our lives be different because we are aware of who you are and what you've done? It's in Jesus' name that we pray. And everyone who agreed with this prayer said, amen.
Amen. Well, would you stand and worship with us?
When all I see is the battle, you see my victory. When all I see is the mountain, you see a mountain moved. And as I walk through the shadows, your love surrounds me. There's nothing to fear now, for I am safe with you. Let's do this together. When I fight, so when I fight, I'll fight on my knees with my hands lifted high. Oh God, the battle belongs to you, and every fear I'll feet. I'll sing through the night. Oh God, the battle belongs to you. And if you are for me, who can be against me? For Jesus, there's nothing impossible for you. When all I see are the ashes, you see the beauty. When all I see is the cross, God, you see the empty tomb. So when I fight, I'll fight on my knees, with my hands lifted high. Oh God, the battle belongs to you. And every fear I'll lay at your feet. I'll sing through the night. Oh God, the battle belongs to you. Almighty fortress, an almighty fortress, you go before us. Nothing can stand against the power of our God. You shine in the shadows, you win every battle. Nothing can stand against the power of our God. An almighty fortress, and you go before us. Nothing can stand against the power of our God. You shine in the shadows, you win every battle. Nothing can stand against the power of our God. An almighty fortress, you go before us. Nothing can stand against the power of our God. You shine in the shadows, you win every battle. Nothing can stand against the power of our God. So when I fight, I'll fight on my knees, with my hands lifted high. Oh God, the battle belongs to you. And every fear I lay at your feet. I'll sing through the night. Oh God, the battle belongs to you. Oh God, the battle belongs to you. Sing that chorus again. So when I fight, I'll fight on my knees, with my hands lifted high. Oh God, the battle belongs to you. And every fear I'll lay at your feet. And I'll sing through the night. Oh God, the battle belongs to you.
Christ is my firm foundation, the rock on which I stand when everything around me is shaken. I've never been more glad that I put my faith in Jesus, 'cause he's never let me down. He's faithful through generations. So why would he fail now? He won't. No, he won't. 'Cause I've still
still got joy in chaos. I've got peace that makes no sense, so I won't be going under. I'm not held by my own strength, 'cause I put my life on Jesus, and He never let me down. He's faithful in every season, so why would He fail now? He won't.
So remind ourselves this morning, He won't.
He won't fail. He won't fail.
We can trust you, Jesus. No matter what comes my way, you won't fail. Let's sing Rain Came. 'Cause rain came, wind blew, but my house was built on you. I'm safe with you, and I'm gonna make it through. Rain came, wind blew,
My house was built on you.
I'm
Safe
with
you. I'm gonna make
it through.
rain came, wind blew. My house was built on you, and I'm safe with you. I'm gonna make it through. I'm gonna make it through, and I'm standing strong on you. I'm gonna make it through, 'cause my house is built on you. Christ is my firm foundation, the rock on which I stand when everything around me shaking. I've never been more glad that I put my faith in Jesus, and He's never let me down. He's faithful through generations, so why would He fail now? He won't.
No, He won't. Do you believe that this morning? That
He won't fail. He won't fail.
He won't. He won't. He won't fail. He won't fail. He won't.
All right, well, that's the party episode. Don't miss next week. We have a very special Mother's Day episode, so bring your mom. Have a great week, and we'll see you then.